Hey everyone, so welcome to my new office. We just moved into this space this week. Anyhow, just wanted to touch base with everyone. And I think I'm going to start doing these weekly updates into what's going on at our startup, how we're growing, what my challenges are, what things are working well, what things are working not so well. And also perhaps talk a little bit about the content or the educational resources that I figure out that are helping me along the way. Maybe those will come in handy for you as well. One thing that I don't think I've mentioned before is the fact that I try to, during my weekends or during most of my free time, I try to get as much new information as I can from different sources, whether it's like podcasts or books or things that, or just reading articles on Medium, for example, like very narrow topics, or asking questions on Quora in order to get answers to things that I might have sort of like a writer's block on that I can't figure out just how to solve for our business. So having that said, I think maybe right now is a good time to chat about what are those main avenues and resources that have been helping me just either, I think from multiple standpoints. One is like educational. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do sales. Here's how you do marketing. Here's how you do product. And then there's the other aspect of the entrepreneurship part in regards to like, hey, here's a story of someone, here's a story of a company or a founder and how they succeeded. And that also becomes a little bit of my personal motivation, to know we're on the right track or people do struggle, and kind of like hearing these stories, I think provides a lot of comfort. Having that said, the content that I look at is really a mixture of everything. It's very specific stuff, sort of like how to, objective. And then there's the other side of things where it's a little bit more sort of like just like the experience of being an entrepreneur and stories and collective knowledge that you piece it together. So you sort of start looking at your journey as being, although you feel like you're dealing with a lot of friction or that things are not always, you don't always have like the momentum behind you, which is like the tough part about being an entrepreneur, that you're not necessarily on the wrong track, that's just actually part of the process and you just need to keep pushing through. And anyway, enough metadata. I just wanted to, let's see. So one of my favorite podcasts of all time is How I Built This by NPR. And it's really just like 1 hour interviews with a lot of founders from different companies. Recently, I was listening to Dyson, Warby Parker, Stripe, the payment processor, and they have Wikipedia. I was listening to the story of the founder and kind of like how it came about, what struggles they faced along the way. And you learn a lot of really interesting stuff. Funny enough, the founder of Wikipedia is, I think Wikipedia is like the 5th most popular website in the world. Yet the founder's net worth is probably less than $1 million. Compared to all the other sites where everyone's a billionaire, this guy has less than $1 million. Partly because they decided to co-found it as more of a nonprofit instead of a for-profit, which is why you don't see any ads on Wikipedia, so everything's donation-based. Anyway, but just hearing these stories I think is super interesting and fascinating to sort of like piece together why certain decisions are made, how our world is constructed. So all these companies that we see around us really have their own story and how they came about is extremely fascinating to me. Another podcast that I listen to is Masters of Scale by Reid, Hoffman, who's the founder and CEO of LinkedIn. He also used to work at PayPal, founder of PayPal. Also, interviews with different people in the industry like Mark Zuckerberg or like Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook, or different founders and kind of how their experience has been. So again, hearing these like stories of how people figure other things out, I think is extremely valuable. Another podcast, Y Combinator. The Y Combinator podcast is fantastic. So How I Built This, Masters of Scale, and the Y Combinator podcast. I'll put them all in the description so you can like check them out afterwards on this YouTube video. But just wanted to like a little bit share sort of what is the content that I'm kind of like blasting into my brain during every free hour. One thing that I figured out, I think this is a bit of a pro tip, is make the most out of your commute time. So, I live in New York City, this is New York. So I take the train everywhere, basically. And I figured I have this sort of like protected space every morning and every evening, or every just, period that I have to travel somewhere, where my commute is probably about, 25 minutes here, 25 minutes back, and that's an hour of my day that is technically not put to good use if you think about it from like a productive standpoint, because you're just moving from A to B. But it's a great space to just like pop in your headphones and like being on the train and just like listen to these podcasts and learn something while you're in like a dead weight time of your day. Anyway, we only have I almost dropped my phone. We only have like a limited amount of hours every single day, and it's our responsibility to make the most of it. So for me, it's like, if I have 1 extra hour and if I'm in that train, I want to be learning something, and I want to get home and like actually have a new insight, or on the way to work have a new insight, and always be picking up stuff. And most of us, I think, get subjected to, we just want to listen to like music, we want to like relax a little bit, but just find something that you're extremely passionate about, and then just learn more about it and figure out what content is out there that I can be using this time to pick up a little bit on. You find that it's extremely, I think, relaxing, and I think it's even super entertaining. I think I just like pick up a lot of great insights from these like random times that I end up just like listening to more podcasts instead of just like being there waiting on a train, or listening to music and just jamming out like most other people. So that's it for podcasts. I definitely have a few more, but I think those are like my top 3. How I built this, Masters of Skill, and why Combinator. Extremely valuable resources. What else? The rest, I think, is just books, honestly. I think I've purchased more books than I have the bandwidth to read. A lot of times I've been just like reading the first few chapters, getting extremely fascinating about it, and then getting more excited about a different book or a different topic. So I stopped reading this one, I started reading a new one, and I haven't been finishing, so I have to be completely honest to that. But I'm going to start kind of rereading my entire library at home, and try to like really finish them cover to cover. There's also some, actually on the podcast front, I also listen to a lot of audiobooks, but one thing that I found is I retain a little bit less information when I listen to the audiobook. I think it's great, and I think you should still do it, but I think you should also, at least for me, what's worked really well is if I really want to internalize the content of a book, if a book is that important to me, I think you listen to the audiobook and then you read the physical copy. So you already have like a context, but then when you read it, it really etches into your brain because you're like, that's familiar. Yes. You're a little bit more engaged. It's a little bit easier to figure things out. So first book that I'm going to use in this new sort of practice, well, not new. I did it for a few books, but I'm going to do it for the Lean Startup, which if you haven't read it and you're working in tech and you're trying to build your own company, extremely valuable perspective on how to build sustainable, iterative, easily prototypable ideas and get them to a point where you're learning from the experience. You're learning from, you build what's called an MVP, a minimum viable product. You put it into the market, and then based on the feedback that you get back from your intended users or customers, you continue to improve that product until you really get to like a good space where you're adding a lot of value. You have great product market fit. I think most of the time we think we should wait and continue to polish our ideas and then go to market and waste too much time in this process. And I think this book is a great resource for being able to just test ideas very quickly before you spend too much time building something that people don't even want in the first place, as well as informing what people do want, and then you actually end up building great products. So I'm going to redo it. I think it'll help me be a little bit more iterative in our process. I'll definitely report back on next week's video on sort of like what my new takeaways have been, because I've only listened to the audiobook, but I haven't read the copy yet, but I will. So I'll report on that a week from now. Today's Sunday, I'm in the office. It's a little bit of my personal time to catch up with things that I enjoy doing, like reading, like browsing a little bit more flexibly, like online, without feeling like guilty, like, oh, I should be working, I should be doing this. These are the times that I can just read articles and read and just have a quiet space where uninterrupted me time. But mostly I think just educational. I think I've just become obsessed lately with just like learning more about how to be better at what I do and how to continue building like what's holding our company back, and how do I learn the skills or the knowledge that's going to help us get to that next step. So yeah, thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. please subscribe if you want to continue hearing about our story. I promise to start sharing a little bit more about our company as we continue progressing. For starters, welcome to our new office here at WeWork in New York City. And we'll be in touch. Please like, comment, subscribe, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions about my experience, or if you have any books or podcasts that you recommend. I definitely want to check out some more variety of content. Keep in touch. Check out this book, and thanks for watching.